paying off $70,000 in credit card debt, $80,000 in car loans, and $10K in student loans. But yes, that is the subject line for today's letter in our viewer mailbag. We just got a letter. I'm sorry, I had to do it. Let's get right into it.
Let's do it.
This is actually a good one today.
Okay.
It's a very good one today. Dear Fi Guys, thank you so much for all of your insights on your podcast. Today, I wanted to share a deeply personal journey that my husband and I have been on over the past 14 months. It's a story of struggle, determination, and ultimately triumph. I know that you typically answer questions on Fi Friday feedback, but I thought I would share some good news and help the listeners who may be in a similar situation to where we were in. Just over a year ago, we found ourselves drowning in debt. We had $70,000 in credit card debt, $80,000 in car loans, and $10,000 in student loans looming over us like a dark cloud. Despite both of us earning a decent income from working from home, every penny we made seemed to vanish in the abyss of debts. We were barely able to keep our heads above water with no more than $1,000 in our bank account at any given time. But we refused to let our financial situation define us. We knew that we had to take drastic measures to turn our lives around, and so we embarked on our journey to financial freedom.
Nice.
Here are some tips that helped us along the way. I love that. I love when people go on a journey and come back and they share war stories and helpful tips that help you.
I think that's what it is, right? It's about going through the jungle, seeing like, oh, that's where that snake was, that's where that hole was, all that stuff, and then having the wherewithal to go back through and then guide other people through it.
Exactly.
So
keeps you out the Rancor pit.
Yeah, I really like that they're helping it. But this is our podcast, and we're the ones that give tips.
What's the deal?
Who do you think you are?
Just
no,
kidding.
I'm joking.
Just kidding.
I'm looking forward to hearing you.
We love this. So, tip number one. We realized that if we wanted to dig ourselves out of the hole we were in, we needed to get a bigger shovel. Both my husband and I took second jobs despite how grueling it was. Every extra dollar we earned went towards chipping away at our debt. Did I skip it?
That's okay. That's tip number one.
That's tip number one? Okay. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
No, yeah, it's really important. I mean, how do you get out of debt? How do you pursue how much money you make minus how much money you spend?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they just went ahead and made a bigger shovel, made more money.
I like that. I like that a lot. Tip number 2, we consolidated a significant portion of our credit card debt into a single loan with a long-term length, resulting in a lower monthly payment. This allowed us to allocate more of our money and our income towards paying off the remaining debt. Okay.
Yeah, so what they did is basically took the credit card. The one thing I worry about that, because credit cards have such high interest rates, by extending it out, it might not have been, what they probably should have done was put everything they had, or most of everything they had, at the credit cards, and then put the rest of it at the car, and like put a little bit in the minimum towards the car and the student loans, just from like a debt avalanche perspective, rather than a debt snowball. But whatever works for you, works for you. That's what makes personal finance personal.
Absolutely.
And maybe that's what they meant. That's what I'm reading kind of seems like that.
Tip number 3, we made sacrifices. We canceled all unnecessary expenses, including taking our kids out of daycare and watching them ourselves while we worked. It wasn't easy. No, kids are noisy. But we got creative and found ways to make it work.
Oh, that's crazy, because they both worked from home.
Exactly.
And they had the kids at home.
Yeah.
And they took on second jobs.
Yeah. I wonder how old the kids are.
Well, if they're in daycare, they got
probably pretty young.
They'd be pretty young, right?
4 or 5. 6.
Yeah, because if not, then it's school. And I took my kid out of school.
I took them out of school
so they could work.
Time to get a job at the factory.
But I think a lot of people, whether they know what they need to do, they're not willing to make the sacrifices.
That's a sad truth. Yeah, that's a really sad truth. Tip number 4, and our final tip. We slashed our costs wherever we could. I learned how to cook healthy, budget-friendly meals, and we sold off anything that we didn't absolutely need. Unfortunately, we couldn't sell our cars because we were upside down on our loans, but we made do with what we had.
I love that.
I like that as well.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely, our efforts began to pay off. Last September, it's my birthday month, fun fact, we paid off our credit cards and debt and consolidated, wow, they did all 3 of them. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And the consolidation loan. That's great. I didn't think they were going to get all 3 of them. In November, we tackled our student loans, and every cent that we used to go towards those debts will now snowball into our car payment. Okay.
Okay, well, good thing though, because they did pay off in September the credit card. So they
Yeah.
sounds like they did do the avalanche.
Yeah, they're doing it.
They did everything perfect.
I'm so proud of
I
them.
have nothing to say.
Yeah, this is good. And we helped out, and got helped out with our tax return. We finally were able to pay off the last of our car loans.
Nice.
Just keep reading and you'll find a little bit more. Today, we still have our mortgage, but it feels like a manageable burden compared to the weight of our previous debts. And while there were many sleepless nights that were filled with stress and uncertainty, we emerged stronger and more resilient than ever before. I share this story not to boast, but to offer hope and encouragement to anyone who may find themselves in a similar situation. It's not easy, and it's certainly not glamorous, but with determination and perseverance, anything is possible. If anyone has any questions about our process, this is the promo part where I'm like, I don't know. If anybody has any questions about our process or suggestions on how to build savings, we are more than happy to share our insights. And remember, no matter how dire your situation may seem, there is always a way forward. From debt's tight grasp, we took flight. Now we're soaring high, shining bright.
Nice.
I like that.
Well, first off, Ryder, I would like to thank you so much for writing in and sharing your story with us. Like that's really, really cool. Mm-hmm. I think it's good to actually hear from a listener. Mm-hmm. So often in Five Friday feedback, we're telling someone like when they're in debt, like this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
But this is someone who's actually made it through the journey and is coming back to say, like, this is what we did. And it sounds a lot like the things that we tell people to do every single time. Yeah. But it is good to have somebody to say, like, it actually does work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It actually works.
It actually does work. And, they made some tough decisions. Mm-hmm. They really, they tightened their boots and they pulled them up and, they did it. Mm-hmm. They did it. It wasn't easy. Like they said, it wasn't glamorous. It wasn't glorious, but they got it done and they triumphed in the end.
Yep. So what are the big tips again? Number one was they consolidated their debts.
Yep.
Number two is they made bigger shovels. They both started working second jobs, so they started bringing in more money. They made sacrifices, so they canceled all unnecessary debts, and then they slashed everywhere they could. Yeah. So what does it come down to? They made more money than they were spending. Mm-hmm. They spent less money,
yep.
And then they threw everything at the debts.
Yep.
It's the same exact thing that you do on the path to FI. Yeah. You try to make more money than you're spending,
yeah,
and then you invest the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, now that they're really cooking with gas, you can really put a lot towards hitting your FI number.
Yeah, and that's really the double-edged sword of this. It's like a double-edged good sword, right? Not like a sword that cuts you. Yeah. It's a double-edged good sword because as you cut your expenses down, you start to realize, like, I can actually live off of less than I thought. Yeah. So they continue to maintain the lifestyle that they had, or maybe, make it better than it was. Like, put your kids back in daycare. Like, you probably don't need to work both those jobs, but try to remember this lifestyle that you're living right now. And if you're okay with this lifestyle, it definitely double helps you in that if you keep your lifestyle low, you can save more.
Yeah.
And the more that you save, if your lifestyle is lower, that's less amount that you need to save to call yourself financially independent.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, absolutely. And they did it right. Mm-hmm. They did it right. Oh, good job. Well done.
Good job.
Well done. Yeah.
Definitely admire the determination and the resilience. And thank you so much for talking about the sacrifice that is needed. Because I think it's hard for me to tell people, you just have to sacrifice a lot. It's going to suck.
Yeah, cut out Netflix. Good luck. Yeah,
because it does suck, and there is a lot of sacrifice, and there's a lot of times where I meet with clients, and they're like, they just want me to be the hero of the story. But at the end of the day, every single person is the hero of their own story.
Absolutely.
And these people are the guide. They're here to say, I made it through the jungle.
Yeah.
Come with me, and I'll show you how to not make the same mistakes I did.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, congratulations. That's a win.
Yeah, that's definitely a win.
That's a big win.
$150,000 in debt, $160,000 in debt they paid off.
$70K in credit card, $80K in car loans, $10K in student loans, and they're working on the mortgage.
And they did it in 14 months. Just over a year, they were able to get it done.
It's ridiculous.
Working hard. Yeah. And with the mortgage, I don't know what your interest rate is, but I think a mortgage is fine. Given that the interest rate isn't anything crazy.
Everybody's got a mortgage.
Everyone's got a mortgage.
Yeah,
but work on it. Definitely work on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all I can say is congratulations. No tips, no tricks, no.
I have no tips or no tricks. Just keep it up. Try not to. Don't let that pressure coming off stop you.
Yeah. And don't get yourself back in the same place.
Yeah, I think you figured it out because they worked hard. Now they understand the importance of it.
Absolutely.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.